Hey guys, welcome back. So houses versus flats. Last week I posed a question, houses versus flats, which is better? Well, personally, I do prefer houses, in particular for a first time buyer. However, in this video, I'm not going to be biased and I'm going to run through the pros and cons of both so that you can decide for yourselves which you feel will be a better investment. So since I prefer houses, let's just go on ahead and start with houses. So number one pro in terms of houses, you own the property as well as the land that it sits on. It's your name on the land registry. So you don't just own the house for a period of time, but you own it completely. Therefore, you can do whatever you want with the house. The second pro or second advantage is the fact that you have better management of your property costs. So I say this because once you've dealt with the initial purchase and everything involved in that, all you've got to think about are your monthly mortgage payments, agency fees if you do go ahead and let a letting agent manage the property for you, and one-off like maintenance or repair sort of works, which won't be all the time as long as you sort of set up the property in a good way in the first place. You don't have to worry about charges like ground rent or service charges, which cover things like maintaining lifts if you have lifts in the flat that you buy, things like CCTV, security, general caretaking, cleaning, that kind of stuff. You don't have to worry about that with a house. Advantage number three, you have more financing options available to you. That is that you have more potential lenders that will be willing to give you a mortgage. You don't need to worry about lease lengths, which is the case with a lot of flats, because generally when you're looking to get a mortgage on a flat, the lenders would like you to have at least 75 years remaining on your term. That is at the point that you take on the mortgage. The thing with flats is that their value also decreases in line with the length of lease remaining. The flat with 99 years remaining on the lease is good, whereas something with 65, 70 years is not great, and so you're not going to be able to get as much for it. Advantage number four is the potential to add value. So you can turn an additional lounge into another bedroom. You can convert a loft into a bedroom. You can even add an extension outside in a garden, for example, a conservatory. These are all things that will help to increase the value of a property, especially when you decide to go on and sell it or when you're renting it out to people. Advantage number five is just the fact that they're overall seen as more valuable. When you go on to sell them, you can get a lot more for a house versus a flat of the same type. So you can get a lot more for a 2-bedroom house than you can get for a 2-bedroom flat. Particularly if you take into consideration advantage number four, which is the fact about adding value. If you're able to extend the property in one way or another, or add more rooms to the property, again, this will increase how much you're able to get overall for the property at the point of sale. Better return on investment. Now, for the cons of houses over flats, number one, they're a lot more expensive to buy. So you're going to pay a higher deposit. Your monthly mortgage payments are going to be higher. Con number two or disadvantage, houses come with more maintenance. So in the sense that when you have a house, you'll tend to have a garden, whereas with flats, you don't have gardens. So you have more responsibility for dealing and maintaining things in this way. So you'll have to deal with cutting the grass if it needs cutting, or you can decide to transform the garden and put in paving or like pebbles as opposed to grass if you want to deal with the garden situation once and for all, not having to keep coming back year after year or after every few months to cut down the grass. So it's your responsibility to deal with that sort of maintenance. Now let's talk about flats. What are the pros of having a flat over a house? Number one, they are cheaper to buy. So your upfront costs are lower. So that is how much you're going to pay for the house in general. Your deposit is going to be smaller. Stamp duty, if you have to pay this, will also generally be lower, I guess, because again, the value is not as much as a house. The second pro is that it'll make it easier for you to get onto the property ladder if you don't have an existing property. And that's just because, again, they are cheaper to buy. Lower deposits, lower monthly mortgage payments. Advantage number three for flats is that there's generally lower maintenance, and these are managed by the freeholder. So the freeholder for a flat is basically the person that owns the flat as well as the land that it sits on. So I'll go back to that example of a garden. Flats don't have gardens. With flats, however, there are naturally communal areas. But the thing about this is that that's not for you to worry about. Your freeholder will manage all of that. So they manage all the caretaking, security, maintenance of lifts, all that kind of stuff. And basically, all you have to do is maintain paying your service charges, which covers all those kind of things. So in short, you don't have to worry about all those things getting done, the caretaking, etc. But you just have to know that you are going to be paying for it in some way via service charges. So now I'll move on to the cons of flats. Number one, it's a leasehold, it's not a freehold. What does that mean? When it's a leasehold, you own the property for a number of years, a term. So for example, you'll see that with flats, you'll get like a 90-year lease, or you'll get maybe 80 years on a lease. This basically shows the timeline for which the property is yours. Whereas with a house, it tends to be a freehold. That means you own the property and the land for as long as you want to. Disadvantage number 2 for flats is you've got more costs in the long run. This is in the form of service charges, which I mentioned previously, which is for the maintenance and upkeeping of the communal areas of the flat. You've also got annual ground rent, which is basically what covers you owning the property for a period of time. And the thing about these two costs is that they can increase year on year. So it could be a few hundreds, it could even go into thousands, but you don't have control of how much it's going to be year on year. So you need to keep that in mind. Another thing is the fact that you may potentially have to extend the lease. And that's because, as I said before, the value of a flat is highly determined by the number of years remaining on that lease. So if your lease is falling to around the 70, 60 years remaining sort of thing, you need to think about extending that lease, because when you go on to sell it, you won't be able to get as much as you potentially could if you had, let's say, 90 or 99 years remaining on that lease. Disadvantage number 3, you can't really add value in the same way you could a house. So for example, you can't add an extension into the garden because there isn't one. You probably won't also have a loft, so you can't really try and change that into a room. Disadvantage number 4, a decrease in value, as I mentioned earlier. So the shorter the term, the less you're going to be able to get for that flat when you go on to sell it. Disadvantage number 5 is that it's harder to finance. So again, as I mentioned earlier, mortgage lenders prefer there to be at least 75 years remaining on a term. And so if you're in a position where your flat falls below that, you're going to have to look at options of extending that, again, driving up more costs. Otherwise, you may not be able to get that mortgage, or when you go on to sell, you're not really going to be able to get much for it. Disadvantage number 6, you can't get as much for them as you would a house. It's just the way that it is. Houses are seen as more valuable. When you go on to sell, you can get more for them. And generally, when you're looking to rent out, you can also get more for them. And this also ties in with that whole idea of adding value, where you can't add value to flats in the same way you could houses. That reduces, again, how much you can get for them. So that is it, guys. I've covered pros and cons for both houses and flats. And so hopefully you're in a better position to decide for yourself which you'd prefer as a first-time investment. I've told you guys that mine is personally houses, and hopefully you understand the reason why. Now it's time for you to make up your mind. If you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a big thumbs up. Please do drop me a comment to let me know if you feel like I've missed anything of these pros and cons. I really love to get your views on some of these things and have a conversation with you guys. So again, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next week. Bye.